Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're taking a look at this kit here from the Chinese anime. This is actually a very cool looking mecha model kit here of the Norma UNX-04S. Now that's kind of the shortest way that I can say the name, but it's actually Kainar ASY-TAC Fronteer A-Type 2.0 Northburn Special Machine Norma UNX-04S. Anyway, it's an overly complicated name, and you're not going to be able to tell very much just from the box art here on the front, but there are some other pictures here on the side of the box, which we'll take a look at before opening it up. But obviously, once again, with this one, guys, this is a mecha that I don't really know too much about the source material for this. I won't be able to tell you guys too much about the actual lore or story, anything related with it. We're just here to take a look at the model kit itself, which I think looks very, very cool. So let's go ahead and start off with the box, and we'll get into it. Let's get this plastic off here just so we're not getting so much reflection on the box as we're trying to look at that. That's much better. But yeah, like I said, here on the front of the box, there's not really too much else to see there. You can get a little glimpse of this glowing eye, which it does have an LED gimmick in here, but pretty cool box art in that we have the text and logos and everything over here is in like a more kind of glossy finish, whereas the rest of the artwork is just kind of a matte finish. It's not quite as noticeable as like on the Megami Device kits or something from Kotobukiya, for example, but it does look pretty cool. On the ends of the box, we just got some generic information there. On the other side, there's some small photos of some different kind of detail shots and action poses there of the kit. On the bottom of the box, we just got the Kainar logo there. And on the other side, we actually have some larger photos of the fully built, painted, and decaled model kit there. But as you can see, it's going to be black. So there's going to be just a lot of black. And those white decals are probably going to be very useful in adding a little kind of well-needed kind of definition around to break up all the black. Underneath the main box top, we have another just kind of cover piece here, which I guess you could use for like a poster or something, I guess, if you cut the sides off of that, which might be kind of cool. All right, we'll take a look through all the runners in just a moment. I just want to find our instruction manual, any other goodies we can see in here first. So here on the front of the instruction manual, as you can see, same thing as basically what's on the outside of the box. On the back, though, we have a nice big reference photo here of the painted kit. That green is not actually a part of the kit. They just have like a green light on it, just again, to make it a little bit easier to see just because it's so much black, and set against that black background, the green light is definitely helping out a little bit. But inside the manual here, it looks like we've got our parts list up first, and then we're straight into the construction. Now, all of this is all in color. I want to say the parts are not in color, but we do have some color here and there. So you can see like for the little indicator arrows and for little parts here and there just to kind of help guide you through the construction. There's little bits of color, but mostly all the construction is here in black and white. It's like here on our center pages is some kind of sketch artwork here of the mecha, which looks kind of cool, with some little bits of writing added in. Front, heatsink, rudder here for the Kainar Norma, and the back side there. Then continuing on through the construction, once we get here to the end, there is going to also be our decal guide. So this is where all the decals are going to go around on the kits, and etching sheet instructions. Oh, so we've got maybe some photo etch, it looks like, in here as well. That's interesting. And then here some more kind of mechanical sketches of there, and I guess that's the pilot. And over here, another photo for our color guide. The color guide is down there. There's not too many colors, so I guess they only needed to use this one kind of close-up photo here to just kind of show some of the different colors you're going to use. Basically different colors, different tones of black, and then a little bit of like white, silver, and red, essentially, kind of what it looks like. So let's check out this extra stuff, which we have all in here. There's quite a lot little stuff here. Starting off with this sheet, which looks to be sort of like some kind of sticker sheet. It looks very interesting. Yeah, and as I was kind of expecting, this is that kind of thicker, like a sticker sheet. So it's not like your typical kind of foil stickers from Bandai, but they're not quite as thick as like the plastic stickers. It's kind of somewhere in between. There definitely is like kind of a plastic layer of what these are cut out from. So basically the good point of these is that once you stick them on there, they'll look like colored plastic rather than looking like just a sticker that you placed on top of the plastic. So that's nice. In here is going to be our just little LED and battery, it looks like, included with this one. Now I can't say if the battery is going to be included in every version of this kit, because I think when it comes to shipping batteries, you know, sometimes they'll do it, sometimes not, but there's that. Here's our photo etch pieces, which do look really nice, and these are, looks like you are going to have to cut those out. So they're not entirely pre-cut like the ones that Bandai has included in a couple of kits now, but you can see there's the little gates, just like normal parts on a runner You do have to cut those at the gate, so be a little bit careful with that. But otherwise, I mean, these do also look very nice. There's this, which I don't know what that says, but it looks very secret. So let's see what's in here. Ah, interesting. It's a dog tag, which we don't have. I don't think in here there's anywhere where there's like an actual like necklace included for that or chain for that, but it's a Northburn UNX-04S Norma excellent rank dog tag. Very interesting. Nice little added gift. Real metal here, of course. Very nice. And then, of course, our waterside decal sheet here. Pretty good size, mostly in white though, so it's going to be hard for you guys to see here on camera. You can see there's a little bit of red. But let's go ahead and zoom in up close. Yeah, I mean, the decals look nice, but again, it's going to be very difficult to actually show you guys. So, okay, let's get into the runners here, starting off with this one, which is just going to be all of our hand parts. And this is in like a softer, not quite as soft as like polycap material, but a softer material here for the hands. Not my preference, but it can be useful for hand parts if you need to flex the hand a little bit in order to get it to grip certain weapon handles and things like that. It looks like that's not really how these hands are designed though, so it doesn't really seem like there was a point to make these in a softer plastic, but we'll see how they act on the kit. Getting into runner A here, you can see this is going to be a nice glossy black, which we're going to see quite a bit of. One thing I should also mention about this too that I haven't mentioned as of yet, guys, is that number one, all the parts, or at least most of the parts, do seem to be undergated, which is nice if you do want to keep that nice glossy finish on the front. Also, the kit is in 1/100 scale, so you should be able to get an idea of kind of the size of it as we're going through the runners here. Seems like it is probably going to be similar to a 1/100 scale Gundam kit just in terms of its size. Here's runner B with some more parts on here. We had 2 of those, and then we've also got 2 of runner C here as well. Another thing I will point out to you guys is that as I was taking all the runners out of the bags, there were a number of loose parts in the bags and amongst the different runners, so just make sure when you're taking these parts off the runner, like here you can see there's one missing from right here, make sure that you check your bags for any loose parts floating around in the bags before you immediately toss them into the trash. Or recycling, ideally, if you're able to recycle plastic bags where you live at. But anyway, here is runner D. Now we're getting into the inner frame color for the kit here, which as you can see is in like this kind of purplish gray kind of color that we see a lot of times from Bandai as well. Runner E here, we've got 2 of these for some more of the inner frame parts. And then the same thing here for runner F, we've got 2 of those, and that's going to be the end of those parts. Back to black here for runner G, we've got 2 of those, and the same thing for runner H as well. We've got 2 H runners. As you can see, a lot of these very like just oddly shaped runners here in this kit for whatever reason. Runner I here, some more black parts, and that's going to be the end of all of our black parts for the kit. Runners J, K, L, and M are all going to be in this light gray color here for our kind of secondary sort of inner frame kind of color here. So I think the frame's going to be mostly kind of made up of that purplish gray and then this kind of off-white, like light gray color here, which you can see on all of these runners. Got all those little parts there. Lastly, we've got runner N, which is in a kind of clear orangish red here. It does look quite nice. And then I lied, we did have some more black parts, I guess, if you want to include the polycaps. Runner O here is our polycap runner. So once again, this is in a little bit softer plastic here for the polycaps. And that's it for all the parts. Let's go ahead and check it out. Alright guys, so here is the kit all built up. It looks very, very cool. Sometimes when you have an all black design like this, it makes me a little bit nervous that you're gonna lose a lot of the details in just it being kind of just all black. But I think with this one, you have the black is really nicely broken up by the bits of lighter gray and the clear red parts on there, and just all the angles and everything, the way that it catches the light. The design I think works really well with this all black design. Really reminded me a lot of building like a master grade seed kit for some reason when I was building it. But it's interesting, and of course throughout the kit there's a lot of different aspects or like different parts of the kit that remind me of different Gundam models, just because obviously it's going to be very similar in appearance overall. So if you are a fan of Gunpla especially, then obviously I think this is going to be something that, while it's not technically Gunpla, is something that's going to be of interest to a lot of you guys, because obviously like looks very much like a Gundam. But the kit itself is very cool, and we'll take a closer look at everything here in closer detail. Let's just start off with the few accessories that it does have. So obviously, as you guys are seeing it now, I am using this stand here to hold it up at the back. Now this is a Kotobukiya flying base, not included with this, and unfortunately that's probably going to be my biggest criticism of this kit, is just that it does not include any kind of base for it. And obviously with this big and heavy of a backpack here on the back, it's going to have a very hard time standing up. Now it's got some quite long and bulky legs and some pretty big feet there. I do really like the proportions of it quite a bit. But with that much backpack going on, you're gonna have a very hard time getting this to stand up on its own. And unfortunately, there's not even like any sort of like action-based connection point or connection piece included. It would be very easy to just drill a hole up into the middle of the hip section right up in there to be able to attach this onto some sort of base. But as it is, unfortunately, that's not an option. Now, I've also not included the photo etch parts on here, and once you do have the kit like all painted up, or whether you want to paint it or not, putting the photo etch parts on there is going to add even more really nice little bit of metal detail in there, which will look really nice. But like I said, the little bits of like off-white gray and a kind of purplish gray there for some of the frame parts. Some of the clear red parts do pop really nicely amidst all the black, especially again around here down on the legs. The design, the proportions of the legs, I really like. Those are very cool looking. Now, while building the kit reminded me a lot of like a master grade seed kit, a lot of the design reminds me of like something out of like a Gundam Unicorn MSV sort of thing with all the angular parts of it. That said, like kind of with these rounded sections and more like curved sections down here on the legs, maybe less so. But then with the head, especially with those kind of striping bits there on the top, this sort of looks like something out of 00, like a sort of version of the Exia in a way. Without the V-fin on the front though, it's kind of weird. Obviously they went for something a little bit different with this sort of like crest piece there on the front, which is a bit interesting. I think if you have a spare V-fin around from a different kit, and if you're planning on painting this, it might be an interesting modification to just, you know, put a V-fin on it instead of this part right here, if you wanted to, you know, modify it a bit. But we'll come back and talk about some more of the articulation in just a moment. First of all, here are our clear orange beam saber effect parts, which I'm noticing I left the nub there on those, but the handles for the beam sabers are going to be here on the backpack, so you can just pop that out of there and use these beam effect parts. For our hand options, we've got these closed fists. We've also got holding hands here for the beam sabers. We've got trigger finger extended hands here for the rifle, and then these open hands like so, which are very nicely detailed. I wish the pose was a little bit different. They're kind of a little bit flat, sort of like the HD builders parts from Bandai. The open hands are kind of a little bit awkward looking, the pose of them, but always nice to have different hand parts included, and without having to swap parts or anything like that, you just swap the full hand, which is definitely my favorite option as far as different option hands go. And then last but not least is just the rifle, which is pretty interesting, pretty unique looking for the design of it, sort of like flat here on the top and bottom, and then has this really interesting kind of like railgun look to the actual front end of the rifle there. So pretty cool, unique design here for this. Towards the back end of the rifle there, that is just a mold line, not a seam line, so you aren't really going to have any seams on this. And just to get back to the main kit, then that is also going to be true for pretty much the majority of the kit. You might have a couple little bits of seam line maybe here or there. For the most part though, you really aren't going to have any seams, so it's going to be a fairly easy kit to paint, in that you won't really have to worry about doing too much modifications or alterations ahead of time to remove seam lines and things like that. The fit overall of everything was really quite nice as well. Most of the parts were undergated. There's a couple of loose parts here and there, like for example this part here at the back of the foot for some reason is like particularly loose, but for the most part the fit is good. Everything is solid, a nice fit everywhere. It is going to be pretty heavy again, so if you are planning on having it in like an action pose or something like that, the fact that it doesn't include a base is going to be a bit of an issue. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the articulation. Now it's going to be pretty standard, like a seed master grade kit for example, so whatever you would expect out of a master grade kit, basically what you can expect out of this kit here as well. And the neck is on a double ball joint, so you are able to get the head up to about there, which is not necessarily all that far down to there. I know it's going to be difficult to see. I'm trying my best to show this to you guys. I know it's all black. Now, the shoulder unfortunately doesn't have any mechanism to swing forward and back, but you can bring the whole shoulder up and down there. Got rotation at the bicep, a double joint at the elbow. That'll give you a nice full bend here. You have these shield bits on the side, which are removable. Of course, you don't need to have those on there necessarily. The wrist is just going to rotate, as that's just on a peg, not a ball joint, but you do also have a bend there at the wrist, which is nice. In the torso section here, we've got a little bit of bend forward and back, side to side there a little bit as well. Quite a narrow little section there at the torso. And while the articulation is nice, because of how heavy this backpack is, it's going to be really difficult if you wanted to have it in a pose where it's kind of more lean to the front. The backpack's just going to weigh it back. So you're probably going to want to either glue that or tighten that joint, at least if you did want to have it in a pose leaning to the front. Down here for the skirt sections, the front skirts are individually articulated and can come up there quite far. The side skirts can also move up and down a little bit. The leg you're able to bring up nice and far there, basically about to 90 degrees to the body. Around here at the back, it's got these kind of like back skirt sections here, which are quite unique. These are attached via a kind of ball joint system there, which will allow these to move around quite nicely. At the knee, we've got a nice double joint, which will give you a good full bend there. Again, really love the details here around on the leg. This front bit of ankle armor is attached via a ball joint. This back ankle armor is also attached via a ball joint, so those can move individually. The whole ankle itself can move forward and back like so. The toe can also move down like that, which is really nice for a nice downward pointed angle there for the foot. And full detail up underneath. It's just unfortunate once again that we don't have a base included to actually be able to pose this in some sort of action pose, but I'm going to do my best here. Lastly, just to come back around to the backpack here, hopefully you can see you have these connecting arms up here, which will give you a number of points of articulation where you can bend and move the backpack parts around in every which way. These parts back here, which hold the beam saber handles, can also be moved around, although there's not really much reason to move them around in any particular direction, but they can move if you need. So let's take a look at a few poses here to wrap up the review. And unfortunately, this is going to be a pretty short segment here to wrap up, just because, yeah, without the inclusion of a stand, it does make it a little bit difficult to do very many poses with this. Plus the fact that it is pretty minimal in terms of the accessories. I mean, it's basically just kind of your standard accessories of beam rifle, beam saber, shield, and the shields are just kind of like those two small shields that it has just there kind of attached onto the arms already. So pretty straightforward when it comes to the accessories and the gimmicks. The main thing with this, I feel like the main draw is just going to be the style of it. It's really nice, a pretty good size, with it being about the same size as a standard master grade, if not a little bit larger, probably very similar in size to the Shinanju master grade kit, if you guys have ever built that, or the Shinanju Stein. And so this is definitely one that I would highly recommend for you guys if you're a fan of the design. If you like that all black look of this, which you don't have to necessarily keep it all black, you could repaint it in a different color, but if you do like how it looks here just straight out of the box, you really like the design, the proportions of it, as much as I do, I really am a big fan of the proportions and the overall design of this. I think it's very, very cool looking. The all black is pretty cool. It's not necessarily something that I feel like I would necessarily like on any particular design, but on this design, I think it does look quite good. And like I said, whether you're painting or not, once you go in and add the photo etch parts, the water slide decals included, everything on there, it's going to look even better. So definitely a very cool kit. Would highly recommend it to you guys if you're a fan of the design. That's going to be just about it here for this review though. So let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think about this one? If you guys want to check out some more different awesome mecha model kits, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. Got all sorts of cool stuff there for you guys to find, so definitely check that out. And as always guys, thank you so much for all of your support, whether it be liking the video, commenting, subscribing. I really appreciate it and it's very helpful. So thank you guys so much. Until next time, hope y'all have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.